What is going on, world? What's up, YouTube? It's Zero here. Today I'm bringing you guys a brand new show, guys. This one is the Protocol Podcast. Welcome, everyone, to the Protocol Podcast, the best Callisto Protocol podcast here on YouTube. And I'm super excited about our episode here today. We have a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's get into it. As I said, guys, welcome to the Callisto Protocol Podcast, known as the Protocol Podcast. I'm super excited about this show, guys, and in this segment of the show, I want to go ahead and just give you a little bit about what this show is going to all encompass, and I'm super excited about it. Obviously, guys, we've greenlit the Gears cast. We brought the Gears cast back, the Gears of War podcast. We brought the Quantum cast to the fray, which is our Quantum Error podcast, and now our third show that we've greenlit, and we're going to be rotating between all three of these shows, guys. Three of my games that I am incredibly excited about. Gears of War obviously being one of my favorite franchises of all time. Quantum Error being one of my most anticipated games of the future, and the Callisto Protocol, which of course, guys, is certainly up there as one of, if not my most anticipated game of the future. And so with that being said, guys, the Protocol Podcast is going to be everything in the world of the Callisto Protocol. We're going to give you a little bit of some insight into what it all means, news, rumors, leak speculation, all types of things in that world, as well as lore and things of that nature, guys, as we go further and we find out more information about the Callisto Protocol. And I really want this to be, guys, a place that we can have real conversation about the Callisto Protocol in depth and detail. You guys can also check out the Discord, which is the horror gaming universe. And in there, guys, we talk about Gears of War, the Callisto Protocol, as well as Quantum Error. So definitely go check that in the description down below. But look, guys, there is going to be a ton of content coming around the Callisto Protocol, a game that is supposedly going to be coming out here in 2022. I'm sure we're going to be getting more and more news and information as we go, but I am incredibly excited, guys, not only about this game, but about the show as well, because I think it's going to really bring to light a lot of questions and things of that nature that we can have and create real conversations around. We're going to be obviously very much so active in talking about this game from the perspective as more news comes out. Even when the game releases, guys, we're going to be talking about, things that are going on in this world, hoping that this becomes a long withstanding franchise. And that's what I'm incredibly excited to really talk about, guys, here on the Callisto Protocol, as well as the Protocol Podcast. So with that being said, guys, welcome to the Protocol Podcast. Let's get into the show. We've talked on the YouTube channel in the past, guys, about the Callisto Protocol. You guys can check out all of that content here on the channel. But I want to talk, guys, currently here in 2022, talk about everything that we know at this point in time about the Callisto Protocol. We can break it down, and I would love to hear guys' thoughts about this in the comment section down below. So let's get into it. So, guys, in an article coming to us from Tom Regan of Games Radar, the Callisto Protocol is Dead Space's spiritual successor. So here's what we know. Everyone is asking about the Callisto Protocol, and rightfully so. Considered a spiritual successor to Dead Space in production from Dead Space co-creator and Sledgehammer Games founder Glenn Schofield, the Callisto Protocol is everything Dead Space fans would want. And first of all, guys, I've been very vocal on the channel saying that Dead Space is one of my favorite horror games of all time. It is an absolutely incredible, franchise, guys. Obviously, we're going to be getting a remake, which I'm excited about that as well. Obviously, Dead Space 1, I thought, was for sure an incredible transcendent game in the horror space. Then we got Dead Space 2, which I thought was actually even better than the first game. Then we got to Dead Space 3, and obviously I felt like it was a turn in the wrong direction. But with that being said, all it takes, guys, is one game to get you into a bad place in any gaming franchise, but all it takes is one game to get you right back to where you need to be. And I think with this upcoming Dead Space remake, it's definitely going to take us back in the right direction. It's interesting that EA has decided to bring back Dead Space from the grave, especially after seeing the Callisto Protocol and what's coming in the form of Quantum Error, which I believe Quantum Error is another one that is a spiritual successor to Dead Space, and it's very exciting, guys, to say the least. But with that being said, While this certainly sounds promising, we don't know much else about the game. However, we've gathered every fact we could possibly could on the Callisto Protocol and collated it here for you. So that being said, in this stunningly rendered teaser, we see a nervous prisoner investigating suspicious sounds reverberating around the dimly lit prison. Needless to say, things don't go particularly well for our unsuspecting convict. As the lights outside his cell flicker and his fear begins to grow, a terrifying alien-esque creature possesses his sleeping cellmate, devouring our poor nameless protagonist in a chillingly gruesome manner. So that being said, guys, look, the trailer. So the trailers, guys, that we've gotten up to this point, obviously got a Red Band trailer. We got an official trailer that came out. Obviously, it tells us a decent amount, but at the same time tells us not much at all, right? Obviously gives you those Dead Space vibes. You can see there's a number of, in the prison cell itself, we see, a lot of markings and things of that nature that definitely could refer to Isaac Clarke, Carver. There's a number of different characters, obviously, from Dead Space that they're obviously giving a kudos to, or is this a game that could potentially be within that same universe somehow, some way? I highly doubt it is, guys, but maybe I think it's more than anything a kudos to Dead Space, because there are a number of areas within this, in these trailers that are giving us that indication that, hey, we have not forgotten about Dead Space. This is where we started, and now this is kind of the future, right? Obviously, they would be having to work with EA on the rights and things of that nature if this was something in that universe. We know it's in the PUBG universe, which we're going to get to here shortly, but I think, guys, that what I love about the trailer that has come out at this point in time, it is, from the graphical perspective, looks great. From an unnerving type of experience, from just a teaser, it is very unnerving as well. What's interesting to me, though, guys, at this point in time, is that we haven't really heard more about the Callisto Protocol. They really haven't posted much on their social media. This is a game that is supposedly coming out here in 2022. I'm wondering if they're going to really ramp up production here shortly in terms of marketing and things of that nature, especially if this game's coming out this year. What I'm hoping doesn't happen is we start getting a lot of delays and things of that nature because they're, having issues behind the scenes getting this thing finished, because it does look like this is going to be a game that there's a lot to unwrap for sure. Well, with that being said, the biggest questions, guys, are the Callisto Protocol release date as well as the platforms. So while we don't have a specific date confirmed for the upcoming survival horror title, the game has been given a rough 2022 release date. Platforms for the game revealed so far are PS5, Xbox Series consoles, and PC. Yet with the game published by PUBG's Krafton, who have released the Battle Royale on Stadia, there is a chance that the Callisto Protocol may find its way on Google's streaming service. Still, regardless of where the game ends up, it seems as though early next-gen adopters will have to wait patiently for their dose of futuristic fear. The good news then is it gives us more time to dive into the mysterious lore behind this terrifying new world. So yes, guys, here's the thing. You got to take 2022 with a pinch of salt. Like, obviously, we haven't gotten any gameplay at this point. We have no idea how far in production they are. Obviously, with the teaser trailer, it looks like, okay, they're definitely, this is a game that's going to be coming out, but we have not gotten gameplay at this point. That concerns me a little bit. We haven't seen anything at this point. So I'm going to take 2022 with a pinch of salt, and I think you should as well. I think that we will definitely be hearing more about Callisto Protocol this year, but is it coming out in 2022 or is it going to get delayed to 2023? I think, guys, we're certainly closer to getting this game than we are far away, at least in my opinion, but I think you got to take 2022 certainly with the pinch of salt for the release date. So, as we've already mentioned, this intergalactic survival horror tale takes place 300 years in the future. Set in 2320, this adventure is set on a Jupiter moon humankind has never set foot on, Callisto. The game revolves around horrific creatures and a conspiracy unfolding on the moon Callisto's dingy and dangerous black iron prison. With only a teaser and a handful of interviews to go on, story details are light so far, yet we know is that the game will be third person and story driven. So look, I think we all kind of figured it was probably going to be a third person title just because obviously this is without question this is a spiritual successor to Dead Space. Now, we know with obviously Quantum Error, guys, we're talking that this is somewhat of a spiritual successor as well, but it's more of a first-person, shooter that you can also go into third-person as well. What would be interesting is if Callisto Protocol did something like this as well, where you could go third-person or first-person. Be very interesting to see what they do here. The other thing to really kind of think about here is that it doesn't seem like there's going to be any multiplayer to this title. It looks like it's going to be just a story-driven title. Will there be co-op? It's hard to say, guys. I mean, we really don't know at this point. That was one thing that I felt that Dead Space, EA, as well as Visceral Games were behind the curve with. They tried to bring out Dead Space 3 as this action game with horror elements when Dead Space was built on horror with a horror game with action elements in it. And so I think like where they went wrong was they introduced co-op way too late. And I think Callisto Protocol, I would love to see them. Obviously, I want them to get their footing here with this franchise, what we hope to be a long-withstanding franchise. The Callisto Protocol guys, being a story-driven title, it'd be great to see some co-op modes or where you're able to play, with your friends, maybe going up against waves and waves of enemies like you see with Gears of War Horde mode. It would be cool to have other ways to connect with the game outside of just the story, but it seems at this point that they're going to be sticking just with a single-player campaign perspective. Now, while little has been revealed about who will actually be playing as, Schofield revealed that the game's yet-to-be-revealed protagonist is stuck inside Black Iron Prison. The game challenges players to escape the maximum security Black Iron Prison and uncover its terrifying secrets, state the game's official site. A blend of horror, action, and immersive storytelling, the game aims to set a new bar for horror and interactive entertainment. And that's, those are all things we want to hear, guys. We want to hear what is Callisto Protocol and games of this nature going to do to raise the bar? Because Dead Space, I think, set a standard for the future of the horror genre, right? I think it really set, it kind of transcended the space, right? We've had other games, guys, that have come out that have really been unnerving experiences, like Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. I thought that was absolutely terrifying. I even thought Resident Evil Village, kind of took some things from some of these games, or kind of a kudos to Dead Space. And now you've got other games that are really trying to replicate what Dead Space and that unnerving tension that really came about in that title. Now, obviously, guys, the only other character of note seen in the aforementioned teaser is a mysterious figure watching the prison security cameras. While it isn't clear whether is the prison warden or someone responsible for the outbreak of these horrific creatures, we're sure to learn more about the shadowy figure in due course. The last piece of the surprisingly scant narrative puzzle, a ship called the Charon. While we know little about who is on this ship, as we see this enigmatic man looming over the camera and control panel, an announcement clears the Charon for landing. So let's when I saw this, guys, and you see all the different planets in the background, and you see all of this, just this world, right? I want to explore this in a major way. And while I'm saying, guys, that this is, we want this to be the best game possible, right? We want the Callisto Protocol, we want these guys to focus specifically just on this, not really thinking about the future of having a massive franchise. We're just talking about it for the sake of talking about it here on the show, guys. I think it's really important, though, that with the Callisto Protocol, we want there to be a long-withstanding franchise. And I just want to explore this world, guys. I want to explore, all of this, whether you're talking a ship, the prison. I think there's going to be a lot of lore to this as well, kind of similar to Dead Space, maybe other worlds that we can go to and such. And obviously, guys, we're talking a little bit into the future here if we ever got this into a massive franchise. I think that there could very well be a plan, though, for a big franchise here out of the Callisto Protocol, whether you're talking comics, whether you're talking movies, whether you're talking, I think there's a big plan here to make this the next horror game of our time. Now, Callisto Protocol is part of the wider PUBG universe, and this is where it gets really interesting, guys. Yes, you read that correctly. In one of the more eyebrow-raising bits of Callisto Protocol news, Striking Distance CEO Glenn Schofield has confirmed that the Callisto Protocol occupies the same fictional universe as PUBG. The reason behind this, the Callisto Protocol is published by the company behind the Battle Royale sensation. Despite this Jupiter-set horror outing taking place 300 years in the future, Schofield tells Games Radar that there will be little connections here and there. So between the two vastly different games, and that this unlikely lore building will make more sense once the game comes out. Let's hope so. Intergalactic chicken dinner, anyone. So in an interview with Games Radar, Schofield went on to explain that we're helping PUBG Corp right now as a team of writers working on the lore for PUBG and its universe. They have a timeline and we fit on that timeline now. It's not going to be really deep, but there will be little connections here and there. We'll probably be referencing one another from time to time. It will make more sense once the game comes out. So obviously, this being in the PUBG universe, it's very interesting to me. You know what I think about, guys, right away is Rainbow Six. What Rainbow Six has done, obviously, bringing out, they have Rainbow Six Siege, then they've got Rainbow Six Extraction. This is kind of like the same kind of thing or a concept in my mind. You've got PUBG, and then you've got the Callisto Protocol, the horror side of PUBG. And obviously, guys, at least what we've seen so far, this doesn't seem to be referencing PUBG at all at this point. Now, obviously, we've only gotten a teaser trailer, but it seems to be referencing Dead Space. I mean, way more so than PUBG. Now, obviously, guys, are they going to continue building the lore of PUBG? I think it's a very smart move on their part. Krafton definitely wants to continue building the legacy, the lore of PUBG, and it makes a lot of sense having the Callisto Protocol really be that catalyst. You know, a lot of PUBG people kind of coming over to the Callisto Protocol people going over to PUBG to kind of really understand about this universe as a whole. It makes total sense to me because I'm sure a lot of people who played Rainbow Six Siege tried Rainbow Six Extraction and vice versa, right? And so I think that it's a great move on Krafton's part to do this, and I'm sure it was part of, you know, them getting on board, you know, being the publisher here for this title, the Callisto Protocol. They said, hey, let's get this in the PUBG universe, and if you guys do this, we'll, you know, help back it and things of that nature. I'm sure those conversations were had, and Glenn Schofield was probably totally on board with it because PUBG is an awesome universe. So why not be a part of that in some way, shape, or form, especially if you're going to be able to, I mean, the resources that we've had, guys, that you see from the Callisto Protocol, obviously Krafton is dumping a lot into this as well as Striking Distance. But with that being said, guys, those are the things that we know at this point in time about the Callisto Protocol. Let me know what you guys think about it in the comment section down below. Let's have a real conversation about it. And for more, the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. Dead Space is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time, guys. And that being said, the Callisto Protocol has a lot, and I mean a lot, to living up to do when we're talking about a spiritual successor to Dead Space. Obviously, guys, it is very well documented that the Callisto Protocol is a spiritual successor for Dead Space, but a game that's in the PUBG universe. Glenn Schofield, guys, who is obviously, you know, I mean, absolutely love this guy as, you know, creator of the Dead Space universe. Talking, you know, one of the co-creators or co-founders of Sledgehammer Games, guys. I love this guy overall. I mean, Call of Duty is one of my favorite franchises of all time. He's had his hands in all types of different projects. And so I am so excited about this next project. You know, I think that for him, you know, kind of really keeping the creative juices flowing in a major way has been something that's been really special. I think, you know, Glenn Schofield, his mindset is, look, we're going to tip our cap or give a kudos to the past, that being Dead Space, right? And you saw it all over, riddled all over the teaser trailer. You see like writings on the wall for I See Was Here, which obviously, guys, has got to be Isaac Clarke, right? Obviously, if they maybe have other characters that have IC, but I think a lot of it, guys, is just they're tipping the cap. And what I'm really interested about is this more than a spiritual successor for Dead Space? Could it very well be something that they're trying to tie it in some way, shape, or form into the Dead Space universe as well as the PUBG universe? Now, obviously, guys, Dead Space is owned by EA, and the rights are still owned there by EA as well. Obviously, Visceral Games got shut down, which were the ones who were creating Dead Space at the time, and after Dead Space 3 got shut down. That being said, EA's bringing back Dead Space in the form of a remake, essentially, and I'm really excited about it So they would have to, Crafton as well as Striking Distance would have to have like a partnership with EA if they were actually in the same universe. If Callisto Protocol somehow had, was in the same universe as Dead Space, in the same universe as PUBG, and it all kind of ties in one way, shape, or form, it'd be a very interesting partnership. I highly doubt, though, that that's really happening at this point. I do believe, though, that they're more so than anything giving a tip of the cap to Dead Space in that universe. And I think there's going to be Easter eggs riddled through this game in a major way for Dead Space. And the Callisto Protocol guys, obviously I've said this many times here on the channel that this is one of my most anticipated, if not my most anticipated game of the future. I am incredibly excited about this. Obviously, guys, Gear 6 is up there as one of my most anticipated games of the future, even though it hasn't been fully confirmed yet. We know that it's going to be coming here, at some point in the foreseeable future. Quantum Error is, of course, one of my most anticipated games of the future. And then the Callisto Protocol. Those are the big three to me right now, guys. I am incredibly excited, and that's why we're going to be covering these games in a major way here on the YouTube channel. So if you haven't already, definitely subscribe, guys. And I hope you guys enjoy all this content. All I ask is you guys leave a thumbs up. But that being said, when we're talking about a spiritual successor to Dead Space, you have a lot of living up to do. And Glenn Schofield obviously knows this, more than anyone. Obviously, as one of, the creator of Dead Space, knows there's a lot of living up to do. If you can take anything from that first trailer we got, though, guys, that this is something that is going to be a very much so a labor of love to him, as well as the guys over at Striking Distance. I think, guys, that we're in very good hands, to say the least, for a game that's going to be within the realm of Dead Space as a spiritual successor. Is it going to be as good as Dead Space? I mean, it's hard to say, guys. I mean, obviously, there's going to be a lot of belief that this could be the next Dead Space. This could be really what is going to bring a lot of people back into this genre, into the horror genre, even though not a lot of people who have been here for a while. We've been playing games like Resident Evil 7, Biohazard, Resident Evil Village, Outlast, and all these different games that have come out, guys, since Dead Space. I think that there's a lot of hope now, though, that could Callisto Protocol take us to the next level, like what Dead Space did, where it was transcending the horror space as we know it. Could the Callisto Protocol take us to that next level? And all I will say, guys, is I trust Glenn Schofield to be that guy who's going to take us to that next realm of sheer terror. Because EA, obviously, greenlighting Dead Space, a Dead Space remake, obviously tells you that they're thinking to themselves, okay, Callisto Protocol's got something special, most likely, behind the scenes going on. Quantum Error as well has got something special going on over there. We better jump on this as far as from a remake perspective for Dead Space. And maybe they have been planning this before Callisto Protocol got announced, guys, before Quantum Error got announced. But I will tell you that this is a perfect time to be in this horror universe, guys, in the horror genre. I am so excited about it, guys. You guys should definitely check out our Horror Gaming Universe Discord, which is in the description down below, guys. We talk about everything in the world of Gears of War, Quantum Error, and the Callisto Protocol. And as more information comes out, we are going to continue talking about it, guys. And I'm so excited about it, to say the least. But let me know, guys, what do you all think about Callisto Protocol? Do you think it's going to live up to that Dead Space hype, the hype that was built around Dead Space? And can it live up to that, or could it surpass what Dead Space accomplished? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. For those of you who are accustomed to my YouTube channel, we talk, guys, about games from the perspective of if it's a AAA title that's going to be coming out, we love having a full package. That being like a full campaign, co-op modes, and multiplayer modes. And obviously, guys, the Callisto Protocol at this point has been dubbed a single-player story. But that doesn't really give us the, thought that, hey, maybe at some point down the road, could they add multiplayer? Could they add co-op modes at some point or another? Obviously, I think that the folks over at Striking Distance are looking at what did we do right, wrong, and what could we do different moving forward with what happened to the Dead Space series. And so with that being said, could multiplayer be added later? Whether we're talking co-op, whether we're talking multiplayer from a PvP perspective. Let's talk about it. So guys, in an article coming to us from Joseph Fonseca of Screen Rant, the Callisto protocol won't include co-op. Here's why Striking Distance Studio is focusing on a single-player survival horror experience. So, the Callisto Protocol's connection with Dead Space brought up an important question. Will the Callisto Protocol include a co-op mode? Set on Jupiter's moon of Callisto, the Callisto Protocol sees players attempting to escape from the claustrophobic Black Iron prison. Though there's only a tiny cinematic trailer and a brief mention of the Callisto Protocol's connection to PUBG for fans to work with, the Callisto Protocol's reveal spurred speculation about how Striking Distance Studio would handle development in this difficult genre. So, the key to the speculation comes from the fact that the Callisto Protocol's development team contains a number of industry veterans who worked on Dead Space and its sequels. The Dead Space series has had a mixed reaction from fans given the dramatic shift in gameplay between entries. Though the amount of Easter eggs relating to Dead Space scattered throughout the Callisto Protocol's trailer cemented the connection between the two games, players were left wondering how exactly the game would emulate the series and which entry would be the focus. Well, the Callisto Protocol's relationship with Dead Space was a major topic of the brief Q&A hosted by Striking Distance Studio on their Discord channel on December 17th. While answering a question about the potential for a cooperative experience, developer Glenn Schofield was firm in his assertion that there would be no co-op mode in the Callisto Protocol. Striking Distance Studios' main aim will remain a single-player experience, a decision that will either delight or dismay fans of the Dead Space series, which included entries that focus on single-player like the original, and entries that focus on cooperative gameplay like Dead Space 3. So, it's kind of like a double-edged sword here, guys. So, obviously, Dead Space was victim to this being an issue, right? You had Dead Space 1, transcended the horror space as we know it, in my personal opinion. Then Dead Space 2 took it another level, which I thought they even one-upped themselves in Dead Space 2 from a horror perspective and all that, from a story perspective, getting more lore, things of that nature. And then we had Dead Space 3, and obviously Dead Space 1 and 2 being a primary, single-player experience. And then we go to Dead Space 3. Dead Space 3 to me, guys, was definitely a step in the wrong direction. From not so much a co-op perspective, but they changed what made Dead Space so great in the first place. They kind of chased a trend instead of kind of staying true to what Dead Space was all about. That claustrophobic, gritty kind of tension that we saw in Dead Space 1 and 2 kind of left in Dead Space 3. It kind of went from being what was a horror game with action elements to a action game with some horror elements to it. And having that co-op was just kind of the icing on the cake, which really obviously cemented this as more of an action game with some horror elements. You could play with your friends, but I felt like they were kind of behind the curve on this. So let's talk about the Callisto Protocol now. I think what they could have learned from that was, hey, look, this is a single player experience. You can play it cooperatively, like with a friend or whatever the case may be, or maybe you do a single-player campaign, and then the co-op modes come in the form of something like Horde mode from Gears of War, where you and your friends can go up against waves and waves of enemies. I always thought Dead Space would be awesome if you could go up against waves and waves of enemies with your friends and upgrade your armor and things. They had a great upgrade system in the single-player story for Dead Space. I thought it would be awesome to go up against waves and waves of necromorphs and bosses and things of that nature and do it along with your friends, not taking away from that single player story. Co-op to me is great, guys, because it gives you more reasons to play the game with your friends. It doesn't necessarily have to be the campaign, but having ways to play with your friends, whether you're talking from a PvE perspective or even a PvP perspective, going up against other people across the world. Maybe you have something like Beast Mode, where you had, obviously some people across the globe would play as the Necromorph, say, and then you would be playing as Isaac Clarke and things of that nature, and you're going up against them and you're upgrading your armor, and there's just more ways, let's just put it that way, to connect with this franchise. more reasons to come back to the franchise over and over again. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. To me, though, the Callisto Protocol going in this direction, where they want to focus primarily on a single-player story and experience, to me, it's still, obviously, it really comes down to, if you're putting all your eggs in the single-player experience, it's got to be knocked out of the park in a major way. Could this be something that gets added later on is another question, though, that we're going to have to ask ourselves. The reasoning behind the Callisto Protocol's focus on creating a single-player experience makes a lot of sense. As Glenn Schofield himself put it during the Q&A, fear is about isolation, atmosphere, and mood. Cooperative experiences tend to lessen the tension in each of these key aspects of survival horror. Most survival horror games that are universally respected for their scares, like the classic Silent Hill and games like it, focus on isolating players from potential help and forcing them to deal with the fear themselves. And I 100% agree with this, guys, but I think that you could add other modes outside of the single-player experience, where you're not necessarily playing the campaign with somebody else, but having options, right? Playing against waves and waves of enemies with your friends as a different mode, like Horde mode from Gears of War. What makes Gears of War so special, guys, is you've got that single player experience, you've got that co-op experience, and you got that multiplayer experience. It brings you back to the experience over and over and over again. And so while I do agree with this, I don't think that you have to do co-op in this from a campaign perspective. Do it in a different perspective. Could that be something added later on? I definitely hope so. So, while some may be disappointed to find the Callisto Protocol won't offer a cooperative gameplay mode, the majority of survival horror fans should be pleased to know the veterans behind the original Dead Space have made it clear they want to provide a similarly terrifying experience. The only thing left to do is wait and perhaps replay Dead Space in anticipation. And so, I agree, guys. Look, at the end of the day, this is one of, if not my most anticipated game of the future, right? Along with the Quantum Air as well as Gears 6. But I will say that could it be something that's added later on? I do believe it is, or it could be, and it really comes down to us as the community, right? Once this game comes out, look, I'm down with them just focusing 100% on the single-player experience. Make it incredible. Once the game comes out, after we play it a couple of times, then it's up to us voicing our opinion and telling the developers, hey, look, Glenn, hey, Striking Distance, hey, Crafton, let's add some more modes here. Don't take anything away from that single-player experience. Like, make it as unnerving, as terrifying as possible. Us playing it by ourselves. But create some more modes. Create a mode where I can play with my friends, where we're going up against waves and waves of these, unnerving creatures, these bosses, things of that nature. Even if it's in tight corridors or different maps. Make it where I can play against other people, guys, across the world, right? PUBG is obviously a multiplayer experience that's incredible. And, maybe they think, you can go do that multiplayer experience with PUBG, but I think having it, guys, we don't get this much in horror games at this point. You don't have a lot of ways to connect with a lot of horror titles outside of games like Gears of War, which really is more of an action game that has horror elements to it than a sheer horror, terrifying experience, right? So I think it's important that more games kind of have ways like Gears of War to connect with the experience outside of just the single player experience. But that being said, guys, I'd love to have your guys' take on this, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about this in the comment section down below. Do you think multiplayer or co-op modes will be added later on? What do you think it's going to take for that to happen in the Callisto Protocol? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more of the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. With the excitement and the hype building around the Callisto Protocol, obviously, guys, it's never too early to start talking about the future of what we hope to be a long-withstanding franchise. That being said, the Callisto Protocol, guys, is being dubbed as the Dead Space successor, which is awesome. Or the spiritual successor, I should say. That being said, though, it's never too early, guys, to talk about the future of what we're hoping to be a long-withstanding franchise in the Callisto Protocol. This is a title, guys, that is definitely taking a lot of references from Dead Space and that universe. Glenn Schofield being, of course, the creator of Dead Space. And obviously, this is a title that is in the PUBG universe. And that's going to be something that's going to be really exciting to kind of experience as well. However, Is this going to be a long-withstanding franchise, or is it going to be just a standalone game for the long foreseeable future? That is a huge question, guys, that I want to talk about in this segment of the show. Could this be a trilogy? Is a trilogy coming out of the Callisto Protocol? We know, guys, for the most part, games and game franchises come in threes, right? You get three, editions of a franchise, and then usually you'll either get continuations in the form of a following trilogy, or a lot of these developers will move on to other games and other IPs and such. The Callisto Protocol, to me, just from what we've seen, and we have only seen, guys, just obviously the initial teaser, and obviously the initial information from the Q&A that we got from Striking Distance Studios, this reminds me of what could be coming in the future, like what we saw from Dead Space. Dead Space got 3 games, guys, and obviously we're getting a remake coming. EA is bringing Dead Space back as far as from a remake perspective, but it got 3 games. The Callisto Protocol, I believe, is the next one that could very well be getting another trilogy. Now, obviously, guys, a trilogy will not happen if the Callisto Protocol doesn't do well. So it's going to be up to us, guys, really pushing this thing forward, whether we're creating content around the game, whether we are, obviously streaming on Twitch. So those are 2 huge ways to really help. But number 3, guys, and I think a lot of it's going to really be coming down to conversations, right, with the developers. We've got our Horror Gaming Universe Discord, guys. You guys can check that out in the description down below. There, guys, we talk about everything in the world of Gears of War, Quantum Error, and the Callisto Protocol. We talk about those universes and just getting conversation going, guys. And if you don't create content, you don't stream, supporting your favorite content creators, supporting your favorite streamers around these games is going to be absolutely massive. Because the Callisto Protocol, I believe, is going to be a massive game. I think it's going to be a smash success. Now, take that with a pinch of salt, because obviously this is a single player story. So I think it's going to be a big horror title, but it's obviously going to be limited somewhat because it's not going to have other ways to connect with the game, like co-op modes, multiplayer modes, like some of these other big franchises out there. It's not there yet. Hopefully it gets there. We're just not there as of yet. And I think it's going to come down to, we want Striking Distance Studios to make the best possible product that we can get, guys. Get our hands on it, play this game a number of times, really just dive into this world and into the story, into the lore, and then give our feedback, though, to Striking Distance Studios about things that they could add moving forward in future iterations of the Callisto Protocol, being like the Callisto Protocol 2, or even just updating the Callisto Protocol, the first one, in the form of adding new modes, like a horde mode, like what we had from Gears of War, where you're going up against waves and waves of enemies, or, having PvP, where you're going up against other people across the world. Maybe they play as the enemies and you play as, the prisoners, or however you want to, consider it. It'd be really interesting to see a culture built around the Callisto Protocol, because we had it in Dead Space, and, like you can go on, Facebook, and there's Dead Space groups, guys, that have thousands upon thousands of people that are talking about Dead Space, and that's what it's gonna take is building a culture around the Callisto Protocol, which is very important. But could this be a long-withstanding trilogy? I do believe that there is somewhere down the pipeline an idea, initial concepts for a long-withstanding franchise here, that being at least 3 games, right? Or I should say, Callisto Protocol already being confirmed. You get these other 2, Callisto Protocol 2 and 3, or whatever they would be called. I'm sure there is a thought about those happening down the pipeline at some point or another. I think, guys, that not only is it on the developers and the publishers to get these things out, it's up to us, though, as the community, to push these games forward, whether we're creating content, whether we're streaming, whether we're just having conversation about it on Discord, Reddit, and other places like that. That's where it's going to be very, very important, guys. And I think a trilogy is definitely something that could be happening in the future, and something that could be happening down the pipeline, but it's really going to come down to us, guys, making this game a smash success. But with that being said, guys, I'd love to have some conversations with all of you in the comment section down below. Do you think we're going to get a trilogy here out of the Callisto Protocol, or do you think it's just going to be a game that just stands on its own, and then Glenn Schofield and Striking Distance Studios moves on to another game or another franchise altogether? Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. And for more of the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. In this next segment of the show, I want to talk about, guys, everything that we want out of the Callisto protocol. When I say we, guys, I'm going to give you my thoughts and opinions here, and some of you may share similar thoughts and opinions, some of you may not. Those of you, though, I would love to hear in the comment section down below all the things that you want to see out of the Callisto protocol. So let's get into it. So, guys, I'm going to be giving you 5 things that I want to see out of the Callisto protocol right at launch or just, down the line. And so coming in, guys, for me at number 1 is I really want the Callisto protocol to be itself or be its own entity altogether. And what I'm getting at here, guys, is there's so much talk about the Callisto protocol being the spiritual successor to Dead Space. And that's great. Obviously, Dead Space being one of my favorite horror games of all time, I want it to be its own thing, though. I want the Callisto protocol to stand on its own, and I believe it will, guys. I mean, this is from the creators of Dead Space, which is absolutely incredible, and I want there to be a kudos to Dead Space. I want there to be things about it that are similar, that feel, similar to Dead Space, but I also want it to be its own thing altogether. And I think that's going to be really important for this to become its own franchise, essentially, altogether. And that's what I think is very, very important, that you have the thought of, the kudos to the past with Dead Space, but also how are we pushing the bar forward? Coming in, guys, at number 2. I really want there to be a variety of a number of different things here. Not so much locations, because I think what made games like Dead Space, games in the survival horror genre, so unnerving and terrifying wasn't so much the variety of locations. It was more so just those closed-in corridors. The scares were on another level, essentially. And this being, primarily where you're trying to escape the Black Iron prison. Obviously, guys, there's going to be some very, narrow corridors, I'm assuming, and things of that nature. But at the same time, I really want to learn a lot about the lore, about the story here that they're trying to tell, and about the things that are happening outside of the prison as well, are things that I really want to learn about as well. I want to learn everything I can about this world. Now, I also want there to be a variety of different enemies, which we obviously saw an enemy, come in the form of what looked to be kind of like a necromorph from Dead Space in the first trailer for Callisto Protocol. But I want to see a variety of enemies. I want to see a variety of characters as well that come into the fray as well. Whether we're talking about our main protagonist or other, characters that are out there, I want to learn as much as I can about this world. Coming in, guys, at number 3 for me is I think that it's a lot of times, and we talk so much on this YouTube channel about the future of gaming. We look ahead a lot of times. I really want Striking Distance. I'm sure there's been thought of, hey, we could make this into a long-withstanding franchise, but I want there to be a real focus specifically on making this the best possible game that it can be. The best possible immersive experience and terrifying experience that we could get, because I want this to be one of the scariest games ever made, guys. So I want there to be a real focus just on the Callisto Protocol. Not so much on, thinking, okay, the Callisto Protocol 2 and the Callisto Protocol 3. I want this to be the game that they're primarily focused on. Maybe there's a thought in the back of the mind, like, hey, we can make this into a long-withstanding franchise. Maybe the end of the Callisto Protocol leads us to the Callisto Protocol 2 in the future, which I'm really excited about. But make this the best possible game. We see time and time again, publishers as well as developers will make a game and they're already thinking ahead to the next one. And I think it's just really important that with something like this, where you are starting the foundations of a new franchise or a hopeful new franchise, you got to just focus on this one game. Coming in at number 4 for me, guys, this is a huge one that obviously they have said that they're not going to do this, but I'm hoping that they add it later, is co-op modes. I want to see, guys, co-op come into the fray some way, shape, or form. Now, look, when I say co-op modes, I'm not talking about the campaign. The campaign needs to say a single-player experience, because obviously, if you're with someone else, it kind of takes that tension, those scares away from the single-player experience. So keep the single-player experience the single-player experience. But add co-op, so after you're done playing that single-player experience a couple of times, you can play with your friends. going up against waves and waves of enemies in a PvE kind of perspective, like Gears of War's Horde mode, where you're going up against waves and waves of different enemies. I always thought that would be something that would be awesome for Dead Space. We never got that. I think that keeping it a single-player experience is important, but also adding other modes moving forward is going to bring you back to the experience over and over again. Instead of going to other games after you beat the Callisto Protocol a couple of times, instead of moving on to another title, you stay in that universe. You stay in there by playing with your friends and going up against waves and enemies, and maybe even eventually adding other multiplayer modes would be really interesting as well. Keep the single player story, but maybe add other modes down the journey. And coming in, guys, lastly, at number 5, we're talking, the Callisto Protocol being a spiritual successor to Dead Space. One of the things I loved about Dead Space was the customization features in the game and how you could upgrade Isaac Clarke's armor and things of that nature. I would love to see this. Lots of customizable options for your character to bulk up your character, make your character absolutely awesome in this title. And maybe that can transfer over to the co-op modes eventually down the journey. Customizable options are that you're going to want to upgrade your armor, upgrade your weapons. Having those variety of weapons and things of that nature that are at your disposal would be absolutely awesome, guys. Having lots of customizable options is always a really awesome thing. But let me know, guys, what are the things that you want to see out of the Callisto Protocol? These are the five of the things that I want to see. What are some of the things you want to see? Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more of the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. One of the biggest things talked about the Callisto Protocol is what the gameplay is going to feel like. So we're going to do a gameplay breakdown, at least at this point in time, guys. Obviously, these things can change because we haven't gotten a gameplay trailer at this point in time. We haven't seen a lot of the Callisto Protocol. We've been waiting and waiting to hear more information. So a lot of this, guys, is going to be purely, speculation, rumors, rumblings of what this is going to look like and things that we've heard from Glenn Schofield as well as Striking Distance Studios. So let's break this thing down, guys. I would love to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section down below. So, in an article, guys, coming to us from Joseph Yaden of Digital Trends, Striking Distance hasn't shown gameplay for the Callisto Protocol, but we do know it's inspired by Dead Space, meaning it'll be a third-person survival horror game. The developer's goal is to create the most terrifying game on next-gen platforms, so this game will likely lean away from action and towards survival instead. We should expect to scrounge for supplies while being encouraged to run from enemies as opposed to mowing them down Rambo style. Totally agree with this. Now, in an interview with Games Radar, Striking Distance founder Glenn Schofield said mystery is part of the importance of a game like this. What's around the corner? What's behind that door? I think it was a good mix of showing enough and then keeping some things like our mechanics and our characters and our story, a lot of the story, still hidden away so that we can tell a little bit more as the game develops, We've got to leave some stuff up to the audience to figure out. And I love this, guys. Absolutely awesome. Now, there are some interesting theories about how death will work in this game. Toward the end of the trailer, we can see the prisoner get killed by a creature, but then he comes back to life, almost like a zombified version of an alien. It would be absolutely fascinating to respawn as a different prisoner who then has to defeat the infected alien version of the previous character. This hasn't been confirmed, but it's an interesting theory that could be implemented if the trailer is any indication. And I would love this, guys. I mean, I love concepts like this. Obviously, it's a theory. If I had to guess, I would probably say it's not how that's going to work, but it'd be very interesting to see if that was something that they decided to do. It'd be a little bit of a gamble, I think, on Striking Distance's part, like for it to actually land well, but it could be something really special. One thing Dead Space fans will likely be pleased to know is that your heads-up display will be presented all from within the game as opposed to on the screen. In Dead Space, your health was depicted by a bar on the character's suit, while your ammo count showed up on a little screen on your weapons. There will be no on-screen HUD elements that break immersion, which is great news. You can actually see this idea in action from within the trailer as the prisoner has what appears to be a health bar on the back of his neck. Absolutely love this as well, guys. I love everything being integrated where you don't have it on the heads-up display. Aside from that, we hope there's some sort of upgrade system and meaningful sense of progression that keeps things moving. Of course, survival will probably be at the forefront, so you likely won't be a super soldier in the Callisto Protocol, but we'll wait and see how things play out. Your overall goal in the Callisto Protocol is to escape the Black Iron prison and uncover its terrifying secrets, according to the official website. While this will be the driving force of the game overall, you'll likely have other smaller scale objectives to complete as you work on your escape. We imagine the labyrinthian prison design will likely come into play. And so, yes, guys, look. I believe, though, that they really did a good job, I felt, that being, of course, the creators of Dead Space, that being like Glenn Schofield and a lot of these guys over at Striking Distance Studios, did a great job of creating a very scary elements as well as, you know, having great gameplay. I thought the gameplay was incredible. Yeah, the heads-up display sometimes would maybe take you a little bit out of the experience. It didn't do that too much for me. I thought it was fascinating, and I loved what they did as far as from the health bar on Isaac Clarke's back and on his suit. I think that, yes, we can kind of see they're doing things a little bit similar here with the Callisto Protocol, but if you can make everything integrated into that gameplay, oh, that would be incredible. And a lot of theories and speculation coming out about like the enemies and how when you die, how that works, because some very grotesque deaths Isaac Clarke had suffered, guys, in the Dead Space games. It'd be really interesting to see what they do there with that. I think there's a lot of interesting elements to this, guys, as far as gameplay goes. And as more information comes out, I'll be sure to give you guys more information, obviously breaking it down as it comes out. We haven't gotten a gameplay trailer yet, guys, but I think one is on the way. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below about the gameplay revolving around the Callisto Protocol. Let me know in the comment section down below. And for more the Callisto Protocol content and videos, stay here with Zero TV. And with that being said, everyone, I hope you guys did enjoy this episode of the Protocol Podcast. And if you guys did, all I ask that you hit that thumbs up button, guys. Helps out the YouTube channel in a massive way. Subscribe if you're new, and subscribe, guys, to get notified of new Callisto Protocol content that comes out on the YouTube channel. Stay positive, everyone. Just keep grinding. And as always, I'll talk to you guys all in the next one. Peace.